1. Cannibal Holocaust 1980. Cannibal Holocaust is often considered one of the most controversial horror movies ever made. Released in 1980 and directed by Ruggero Deodato, the film shocked audiences around the world and was banned in dozens of countries. Even today, it is still remembered as one of the most disturbing films in cinema history. The story follows a group of documentary filmmakers who travel deep into the Amazon rainforest to film indigenous tribes. The crew hopes to capture shocking footage that will make their documentary famous. However, after entering the jungle, they disappear without a trace. Months later, a rescue team is sent into the jungle to discover what happened to them. They find the lost film reels left behind by the crew. When the footage is finally played, it reveals the terrifying truth. Instead of being respectful researchers, the filmmakers were cruel and manipulative. They burned villages, harmed local tribes, and staged violent scenes just to create dramatic footage for their documentary. Their actions eventually lead to devastating consequences. As the recovered footage plays, the audience witnesses the horrifying events that unfolded in the jungle. The lines between documentary and horror become blurred, creating an extremely unsettling experience. The film became infamous because of its realistic style and shocking violence. Some viewers believed the scenes were real, and the director was even arrested and forced to prove that the actors were still alive. Because of its graphic content and controversial scenes, the movie was banned in many countries for years. Despite this, it has gained a reputation as one of the most notorious horror films ever created. Today, Cannibal Holocaust remains a disturbing reminder of how far horror movies can go to shock their audience. Number 2. A Serbian Film 2010. A Serbian Film is widely known as one of the most controversial horror movies ever created. Released in 2010 and directed by Srđan Spasojević, the film shocked audiences around the world with its extremely disturbing content. The story follows Milos, a retired adult film actor who is struggling financially. He lives with his wife and young son and desperately needs money to support his family. One day, he receives an offer that seems too good to refuse. A mysterious producer offers Milos a large amount of money to star in a special film project. However, there is one strange condition. Milos is not allowed to see the script beforehand. Everything must remain secret until filming begins. Desperate for money, Milos accepts the offer. At first, the production seems unusual but manageable. However, as filming continues, the scenes become darker and more disturbing. Milos slowly realizes that he has entered something far more sinister than he ever imagined. The project turns out to be a horrifying underground film created for wealthy and twisted clients. As the truth unfolds, Milos finds himself trapped in a nightmare he cannot escape. The film quickly gained a reputation for its shocking and controversial scenes. Many countries banned or censored it because of its extreme content. Despite the controversy, the movie became infamous among horror fans. Some viewers see it as a disturbing piece of social commentary, while others believe it crosses the line completely. A Serbian Film remains one of the most debated and controversial horror movies ever made. Number 3. The Human Centipede 2 2011. The Human Centipede 2 is the disturbing sequel to the infamous horror film created by director Tom Six. Released in 2011, the movie shocked audiences even more than the original and quickly became one of the most controversial horror films ever produced. The story centers around Martin, a deeply disturbed security guard who becomes obsessed with the first Human Centipede film. Martin lives a lonely and miserable life, constantly bullied and ignored by the people around him. His obsession with the film slowly turns into something much darker. Inspired by the movie he admires, Martin decides to recreate the horrifying experiment in real life. Unlike the original film's surgeon, Martin has no medical knowledge or skills. His attempt to recreate the experiment is chaotic, brutal, and terrifying. As he begins kidnapping victims, the situation becomes increasingly disturbing. Martin's crude and horrifying methods create scenes that shocked audiences worldwide. The film is presented in black and white, which gives it a gritty and uncomfortable atmosphere. The disturbing tone and graphic scenes made the movie extremely controversial. In fact, the British Board of Film Classification initially refused to release the film at all, calling it sexually violent and potentially obscene. Because of its extreme content, the film was banned or censored in several countries. Despite the backlash, The Human Centipede 2 gained notoriety among horror fans who were curious about the film's shocking reputation. Even today, it remains one of the most controversial horror sequels ever made. Number 4. The Exorcist 1973. The Exorcist is one of the most famous horror movies ever made. Released in 1973 and directed by William Friedkin, the film terrified audiences around the world and quickly became a cultural phenomenon. The story follows a young girl named Regan who begins to experience strange and terrifying changes. At first, her mother believes that Regan may be suffering from a medical condition. However, as the situation worsens, it becomes clear that something far more sinister is happening. Regan begins speaking in strange voices and displaying unnatural strength. Objects move around the room, and terrifying events occur in the house. Desperate for help, Regan's mother turns to the Catholic Church. Two priests are called to perform an exorcism in an attempt to save the girl from the evil force possessing her. What follows is a terrifying battle between faith and darkness. When the film was released, audiences were shocked by its disturbing scenes and realistic portrayal of demonic possession. Some viewers reportedly fainted or left the theater during the screening. Because of its intense content, the film was banned or restricted in several countries for years. Despite the controversy, The Exorcist became one of the most successful horror films of all time and is still widely considered one of the scariest movies ever made. Even decades later, its terrifying scenes continue to haunt audiences. Number 5. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1974. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of the most influential horror movies in history. Released in 1974 and directed by Tobe Hooper, the film introduced audiences to one of the most terrifying villains ever created. The story follows a group of young friends traveling through rural Texas. While on their trip, they stop near an old farmhouse and soon discover that something horrifying is waiting for them. Inside the house lives a family of violent and unstable killers. The most infamous member of this family is Leatherface, a terrifying figure who wears masks made from human skin and uses a chainsaw as his weapon. As the friends wander closer to the house, they begin disappearing one by one. The situation quickly turns into a nightmare as the group realizes they are being hunted. What makes the film especially disturbing is its raw and realistic style. The movie feels almost like a documentary, which makes the horror feel even more intense. When it was first released, many countries banned the film because of its brutal violence and disturbing themes. Despite the controversy, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre became a massive influence on the horror genre and inspired countless other films. Today, it is considered a